I'm so sorry, that's probably
Yeah.
me. Wait, let me just mute myself into a question.
That's fine. So first of all, you're playing Brawl into a ball spam composition, so they're using the Sigma and the Ash. As we talked about last time, the Ash and Sigma are basically used to kind of anchor a point, while still being able to dish out some spam damage with Dynamite, for example. And as well, they're still quite mobile to move, so they're able to anchor a position, but as well they're able to fall back again. But in this case, they're putting a lot of strength from their composition into their backline and less into their dive part of their team, so their ball and tracer. You're playing Brawl, which you want to play up close and personal, and don't want to get disrupted too much while you're rotating. So first of all, if you see this composition, what are your targets you want to go for? Ultimates you maybe want to look for to clean that are really good against this composition. Just a general plan.
Well, we
What do you
first wanted
think?
to go up to the high ground, force them off that high ground, get close to
Yeah.
them as quickly as possible,
And why?
so they can't keep spamming us,
Yeah.
and so we
So
can get the fight to them.
yeah, so you want to abuse the fact that they want to anchor a position. If they put more strength into their dive is gonna make it harder to do that, because they will try to disrupt you while you're rotating. In this case, they will also try to disrupt you, but they don't have the potential to really, or they shouldn't have the potential to get a pick or really get an advantage out of that disrupting. The big thing you can do to avoid that they will get that advantage is your batting. So where you're going, you want to limit line of sight as much as possible, so you go for flank routes. At the same time, you want to keep it efficient. If you can keep walking around the map, but as long as you're not on point, you're not completing the objectives. So you want to keep your pathing or your pathway efficient while limiting the line of sight that you have on the enemy team, so they don't get much potential out of their dives. So they have to play like dive you or disrupt you in smaller areas where you're able to punish them, and from your spam by limiting their your positioning and your line of sight. Okay. First of all, here you're rotating on the high ground, which is fine. A maybe more safer way to go is like up the cinema and then drop from here. It's more safer because you're limiting more line of sight, but it's more a detail than it is a mistake. So taking high ground here is fine. Like they're doing now, they're trying to disrupt you and get a potential pick or get force out abilities that they go on for next time. Alright, you splitting up here is a mistake because now they're able to follow up on that. If they want to, they just dive your Kree and your Ash and your Bab. They don't, so you control the high ground. Now you're really getting potential out of your composition. You want to keep chasing that backline and trying to avoid their divers as long as they're not making a mistake. They make a mistake, that's where you can try to punish them for it. Right now you chasing their backline. It's good. Okay. So you got 2 picks on the backline. This is where you can start moving towards point. You got the advantage that you're looking for. So now you can start anchoring your position and trying to get a benefit out of it. You have to keep in mind that you're playing against ball comp, which is pretty mobile and really thrives on messy fights, and they will be able to come back and get help and come back and really stall these things out. So target focus is really valuable here to limit the amount that they can come back and have clean kills. As well, you want to play together so they don't find the potential picks like you did on the Kree here. If you played with your team, that Tracer wouldn't be able to follow up on you so easily. I get it, you want to hold the high ground, but in this case, if you're completely alone without line of sight to your backline, I think it's more valuable to play on the low ground on the point. If your BAP stayed on the high ground, for example, that's where you could play on the high ground, but as well you have to play together then, so they don't finish up your BAP. So now they're just stalling. You still have point control and have the advantage. So this is fine, completely in your favor. Okay, that's good. That's pretty clean. What's the difference between the composition that they're playing and a standard ball comp against your brawl composition? What is your plan? How differently are you gonna take it from there?
Well, because they're anchoring with their Sigma, we try to go on the Sigma as much as possible, I think.
Yeah, and what if they don't have a Sigma and they're playing their Diva Sombra instead? What are you going for?
I think we still would be going for the backline, right? Or
yeah, you still want to look for a way to go for that backline, but as well you want to look out more for these positional mistakes that you can punish, and looking to bait them in, for example. For example, you could stay longer in the mega room over here. If you stay longer there, you're kind of baiting the ball to go in, because most balls don't have the habit to just wait. They want to do everything all the time. So if you bait one of them in, that's something that you can't really punish. Right, so playing against a more dive-orientated ball composition, you could play to punish positional mistakes while still with your end goal or your main goal to rush their backline.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, early window. Fine. Maybe a little too early. The big thing with window is that you want to force them out of position. With the spam, you want to force them out of a position that you want to control. In this case, you kind of use it to finish up kills, so you can keep a stagger going, keep a snowball going. It could work, but you don't really have the potential or like the damage from that range to follow up on it. Even with the window, you have your Kree, but they still have a shield, for example. So you could use window in this case when their Sigma is already anchoring in position that you want to rush to, and then use that spam to break Sigma shield or rush towards Sigma shield, and then follow up on it. So a little too early, but again more a detail than it is a mistake. Okay. Who's your target here to wall?
I would say if we run into their Sigma, for example, we wall them
off. Yeah. So the wall you want to look to wall something to split something off and limit their options of going back. So you basically make it way easier for you to kill. If you wall the ball like this, he will just run away because he's so mobile. If you wall him, he will still have options to get away because of his mobility. If you wall the Sigma, who has less mobility, he has less options to get out or escape the wall. So this is why walling a Sigma is more consistent than walling a ball. You can wall a ball if you know, for example, that he doesn't have options to run away from, or basically you want to confirm the kill and that's where you want to look to wall more mobile targets. But generally speaking, you want to try to look for walls on more static targets. In this case, being the Sigma. They popped aggressively, and you answered with mailed. I'm not the biggest fan of the mailed here because there was no. You already got caught back by the Bob. It's fine to just stabilize there, because if you play still in a position where you have the advantage, being on the other side of the choke, and the ball rushes you, that's a positional mistake that you can punish. But right now, because you blizzard aggressively, you were kind of forced to get the most value out of it and trying to rush in without the blizzard not getting much value as well. So if you want to use blizzard, try to use it to confirm kills. So on their backline again, or to really solo kill a ball, for example.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, good shadows.
I feel like we get way too split here.
Yeah, because that's what they want to do, right? They want to split your attention, so you split up and make positional mistakes that they can punish. That's why you see their ball on one side, Trace on the other side, Ash from on the other side, and then Ash, and then Sigma on the one other side. They're completely splitting your attention, and that means you're gonna play more in the open, more apart, make positional mistakes, and that's where they are gonna try to get that advantage that they're looking for. So the big thing you want to do is avoid these pesky divers for now and rush towards your main objective, being the Sigma in this case, or altogether on the ball. But you have to choose one, and target priority here and target focus here is like key to win this matchup.
Right, so we don't really peel like we do here.
No, there shouldn't be a reason to peel. In this case, peeling is good, but you want to stay together more, right? There shouldn't be a reason to peel here. Okay. Nice, chasing Tracer here is fine. Okay. You can take more space, like now. You could have already taken the next corner. By now your BAP is back. You can already take the next corner again and hold them off. A big thing here as well is time. You want to fight early. You want to fight as early as possible and rush them as early as possible. The more time you give their divers to set up, the more time they have to disrupt you and to look for a mistake to punish.
Yeah, so we basically should have already rushed into their Sigma then.
Yeah, like right now, you could, if you roll together, you can leave the payload even for now, and then rush the Sigma. If you win that fight, those divers are not going to do much, and you just control the payload. If they contest the payload, you just kill them because it's 6 against 1 or 2.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right, now you give them time to set up, and their ball is trying to wreak havoc on you. Nice. Okay. Okay, so here as well, you won't already be looking to play for the next corner. The corner where you're now is fine, but if you only leave your Lucio case, you can already start poking their Sigma shield, or even baiting their Sigma to not rush in like this.
Yeah. Wait, you cut out for a second, so Lucio on point then?
Yeah, I prefer Lucio on point because, especially on this part, those high grounds that are really valuable for them. So if you have a diva who can contest that, that makes diva in this case more valuable.
I agree. Okay.
It is well they're playing it like Brawl, right? Their Sigma's playing in Reinhardt position. He should be an easy kill. If your mace push up with you, you can go for a long range wall and go for a charge. Like charge is people are too scared to charge for Giant. If you combine it with a mailed, it's a really good initiation tool. If you get rocked, you still have your team that backs up. It's everywhere you charge to is space you take. In context, of course, you can't just charge everywhere. But if you combine it with a wall, you can just go for a charge. It's a really good engagement tool. Okay. Blizzard needs line of sight. So if you can throw it in more open space, like you can wall off from one side, rather than throwing it into the room. You've forced out trends, which is fine, but they're using a lot of ultimates, so you're losing the fight. This part of the map is really not suited to Welcome that much. You can play it, of course, but the biggest value that they're gonna have on this part of the map is the Ashe on the high ground. So contesting the Ashe should be really a priority for you as D.Va, because as long as the Ashe is there, that's all spam damage that gets into you, and that can force you to make mistakes, fall back to a health pack, for example, or you just getting low by the burn. As well, because there's so limited amount of flanks, you can afford to check them. Especially in this first part, checking the room where the Tracer is now should be standard. You're not gonna get split off if you go there as Kree, for example, or as Mei. I prefer Kree because you can need to mail to engage, but it could be quite standard because you're not gonna waste time, or you're not gonna be able to get forced out on that position. Nice eats. Using bot. It's fine, they used a lot of ultimates and didn't really get value out of it. The problem now is that you're split. If you can just sustain this, then they're wasted ultimates for nothing. Okay, my thing is going wild. So right now you can just stabilize. Both your DPS are quite low. You can just wait to stabilize. In this case, they're not gonna dive you your full 6. Because you were still too low to when you engaged, they just picked you off. And they still got value out of that fight when they shouldn't. Right? So time is important, you have to play fast, but at the same time you don't want to rush in when you're at a disadvantage. So you can take your time, but don't waste it. This is a good wall, really good early wall on two static targets. Right? Now you just need to be able to follow up on it. That's big. Try not to flank here, Escary. Because as you will see, you will get punished for that positional mistake. Okay. Should be able to win that fight. If your D.Va is not there, you as Lucio are the only one contesting high ground, or are able to contest high ground like this. So don't be afraid to go for plays, because I see you too little going for Reddit plays.
Okay.
So And this is why you want to have clean fights, because ball come back so quickly, and come back or take out back, come back, that you, even if you got the advantage, but because you still lost people too, they were able to turn it around. Like, I think that is going to be a thing that will reoccur.
Yeah, I think that's mostly what we struggled with. I don't think we got it all the way to the end. Not sure, though.
The big thing here is, first of all, not getting snowballed by staggering, and another thing is that you want to always play at your fullest potential. So what can you do is regroup and just wait a second, heal up, and then go in. Here as well, right now you lost the fight. You can try to go in and go for a play here again, but you lost the fight. You're not gonna get it to the whole end.
Yeah.
Okay. If you would have looked at swaps that you could make, what would you swap? You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you want to swap, what would you swap?
It could maybe go a Hanzo to contest high grounds a little bit more, or like a Sombra against the Hammond, maybe? I'm not sure, actually.
For who?
For the Hammonds.
Yeah, but who would you swap for? That Sombra or the Hanzo?
Oh.
Swap your Kiri or swap your Mei?
I would say at this point in May probably, because I think while you can do good walls, it's generally too big. Like, you can't wall off everything. There's always gonna be a way to sneak around. So I think maybe May is not that strong here, and with a Hanzo you would get, for the long sidelines, better spam and some better high ground contest.
Yeah. So that's right. Like, it's hard to find Mei walls on this map if they control the tempo, right? Because they play early before you're able to wall.
Yeah.
Another swap that you could make is the Lucio swapping to a brick, because you want to play more static. You want to play and then play more to punish those divers, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But the Hanzo or the Sombra, I think the Hanzo on its own should be fine. But if the ball really is a problem, then the Sombra isn't a bad swap.
Yeah.
But for now, you're sticking with the main. Okay, fine. Okay. Here as well. You know the ball is gonna be there, you know the chase is gonna be there. It's something you can check, especially as Lucio or as Kree, if you're checking the tracer. Those things should become standard when you're playing against this composition, because you kind of already know that they're gonna be there.
Yeah.
Now it's good challenge. Good eat. Should be able to take some space with this. Okay, right now you should keep in mind that you lost someone, so you can't push. Even though you have an advantage, I don't think you should push completely, because their respawns are coming back and they're already looking for these mistakes to make.
Do you think I should go back to, like, we should go back and taxi him, or?
No, you still want to. You still want to keep your space.
Yeah.
What you could do, if he's almost there, for example, amp speeds and amp him and come back.
Yeah.
That's something you can maybe do to maximize the uptime. But your main thing here is to help your team out with healing and speed boost if things get too hectic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, that's I think what we did, but.
But you have to play a little more passive. You can't just stay on guard because then these things happen. They want to look to play the corner again because in this composition you're strongest at a corner where you can block off line of sight with melee wall. As well, if they cross a corner, they don't have line of sight of their backline. Okay, good bomb. Okay, so your biggest mistake, or like the biggest problem on that third point was them controlling the tempo and them already being able to set up before you actually were able to do something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And those pesky divers, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So like these little swaps, like a Hanzo, like a brick, can work to maximize or like punish those divers more with stuns, with just general damage spam.
Mm-hmm.
As well, another big thing is checking these routes. It's always valuable to kind of learn other roles in a way, not that you can play them, but kind of expect what they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you ever are watching Owl or watching other scrims, pay more attention on certain maps to a ball if you're playing mid support, or if you're playing ball to their DPS who's looking at you generally speaking, or the main support, or whatever. But looking at other roles could kind of give you more options on how you would play against certain things. Okay. You're still sticking with this brawl. I prefer ball comp, like almost the composition that they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on first and second point.
Okay.
This is fine. This is really gonna give you problems though.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a strong backline that you can go from. They have lots of mobility and that pharmacy. First comb mobility is something you can almost do nothing against. So you really want to look for positional mistakes. The biggest mistake I already see is just in their composition. Can anyone spot it? If you know they want to limit the backline.
Maybe go Lucifer or something. No.
I mean, their Anna is gonna be pretty yellow or the Sigma.
Yeah.
Not
but
much yellow.
Look at what you're playing normally if you play a pharmacy ball comp.
Diva. We go.
Yeah.
Tracer.
So what does this Diva offer in third case? That the Sigma doesn't. Or why do you pick the Sigma? In this composition, if you in a ball composition and when you want to pick a Sigma, that's where you want to put value into your backline and anchor a position more. But right now you don't have, like, you have a Hanzo there who could stay there, but at the same time Hanzo is quite mobile, can take off angles on his own, especially if he takes a long angles where you're not really able to rush him. So the Hanzo is fine. The problem is that the Sigma is there. The Sigma gives you an option to get a pick, especially now because it's two people in the backline who can't really do something against you. And that's something that you can work for. If it's only an Ana, in their case, they can still win that fight quite easily because they don't need the big healing because they play from angles and spam and then finish it off with a dive. But if you play with as little line of sight to them as possible, and you can rush their backline, in this case being Sigma and Anna, that's where you can find the most value out of your competition against theirs.
Yeah.
So fighting early like this, is it the right play? We can just start off. Let's say you know now what composition they're playing. Is your starting position good? Alright, so the moment you see that farm, you see the Sigma coming out.
Or would maybe go back and go into hotel for now.
Yeah, and why?
We can't get spammed and we still have a relatively short way, so they need to come closer and we can still speed onto them while not being spammed down.
Yeah, it's the limiting line of sight thing, right? Let them get the angles for now, because you're not looking for these brawly fights right now. You want to look for clean engagements with quick kills, and then you go up from there. Who are the ones who are gonna get this point in their composition?
Probably
It's
their
gonna be the
ball.
yeah, the
Just
ball maybe, but ideally they want to put their Sigma on there, right?
Mm.
Because that's where the ball is gonna rather stay in your backline to follow up on spam. So if you can punish the Sigma, they don't really have anything to go on point, except if their ball goes on point, but then you can also try to punish him with May Wall, Freeze, Stun, whatever. Right? So look for these small advantages that you could have over their composition. In this case being the clean fights that you can take and the burst damage they have. And then play against what their advantages are. Spam and mobility. So if you can stay somewhere in a room where they can't really flank you, if they flank you, they can't really hurt you too much. And the moment their Sigma pushes up too far, that's where you can punish the Sigma. But this is not easy to play against this comp. Like, against the comp they're playing. You're clearly at a disadvantage, in my opinion.
Mm.
Right? But it's not impossible. You can still play it. If you play it correctly, you should be able to punish it. So, fighting early here. Okay, you're fighting early, so the Sigma is a decent target that you can go for. But the problem is that you're not limiting line of sight. And that's why your quick cut's punished.
Right, yeah.
So even if you kill the Sigma here, or the Anna in this case, you're not gonna be able to win this fight, because they will come back faster, and they can just hard punish. For example, if the Pharah really wants to, he goes past your front line and just punishes the Kree again. Well, this whole time you're just being forced out. Look at Pharah's ult charge.
Yeah.
The next fight they're gonna take is with Barrage to wipe you. Right? So you've been kind of playing into their hands by playing so much in the open. Right? Now you're kind of forced back. As you see, the Sigma moves to point.
Right, yeah.
While
yeah.
the ball should be flanking right now. It goes for like a head first slam, and gonna follow up. Okay, that's a nice shutdown on the Pharah, because you were gonna get wiped there. B2 engage, it's fine. Good punish on the Mercy. Okay. So you played this quite well, because you shut down people really quickly, and then moved up fast to the next target. But as well, that was kind of sloppy play from them. If they were set up more, you wouldn't even get a chance to do this. As well, you're playing early, this is really good. Not giving them a chance. Like, you're still limiting the line, like, still not limiting the line of sight. So the potential that they have is still there. Right, but you're playing this quite well. Unlucky shatter. Okay. Far got behind you. Got an advantage that you're looking for. That they're looking for, and now they've pushed up and wiped you. So this part of the map will make it a little easier for you to fight, because you have some options to flank, and you can there are not many flank routes, not too many flank routes. So at the same time that works in your advantage and disadvantage. But because there are little flank routes, but they still are there, you can. The ball doesn't have many options, because he either runs into you guys or decides to flank too far. Right? The Farah doesn't have many options, because you can really avoid almost all the line of sight in the open space, and then decide to drop down on their backline. Routes you want to take, for example, is up the high ground here. Really hard for the Farah to punish on the high ground on the right side, and you can go all the way towards their backline and drop down there. The biggest problem I already see is you splitting up. HQ is not there with you. This again can be punished. Could pick on the hands over there. Good high noon, but you're still playing quite apart. This is fine, this is where you want to fight, right? Limiting the options that they have to flank you. As well, the Farah, you don't give the Farah much open space to get an angle on you. As well for the Hanzo. The only two angles they can take is from main and up the high ground main. Right, you stake Darius Lucio is good, because now you're scouting, right? You're looking for where the Farah is gonna come from, the Hanzo is gonna come from. They engage with Nano Farah, pretty hard to counter. The biggest counter you could have for it is like bombing defensively, if you have it. You don't have it at the moment, so you can't. Beating is fine, but less reliable because it wears off.
Yeah.
Bombing defensively is probably like the best way to keep that Nano at Farah off you.
Okay.
In your situation, Atom. Good choice to go aggressively with Mailed here. Right, so you're punishing their backline earlier, then they're able to do something, and that's how you keep winning these fights. And nice stagger. Okay, a ball who rushes in like this is something you can punish. Place a wall behind him, try to freeze him. But this should be suicide, or at least you should be able to get forced out. Good window. Like, this is a good window because you're still anchoring a position, and as well you're not letting them go even close to you. Like, you're fighting, you're getting that advantage early because of your doubled spam, and now you're able to go up even harder. Okay, here you're kind of engaged a little slower than before. If you put more resources into punishing that ball, if you really come some main, you're not letting them set up, or especially in Fara, you don't let her set up to use Barrage.
Yeah, makes sense.
Punishing a ball could go quite far by solo shattering, even solo blizzarding could do. Like, using solo ults on important targets like this is completely fine. As long as you follow up on it. Like, if you just kill someone and then just stay there, that's not value, because especially against this composition they will flank you and still go for it. Yes, well, you split up a little too much and you exploit that fact. Also, you were not checking the routes. Good bomb. But Farah still has enough angle on you. Yeah. Checking routes more is something you should really get a habit to do.
Yeah.
Here is well where the spam is gonna come in. The hands, for example, will really shine here. But there's still the fact that the Sigma's there. That should be an easy punish. Don't really see why they play Sigma though. Engagement is fine. They just were earlier to engage, or like use ults. Okay, so fight's not over yet. They're still fighting. Yeah. Here again, ball comes. Keep fighting even if they're at a disadvantage, but because they come back so fast, you're still gonna lose the fight. In the meantime, you made 2 swaps. You swapped to an Ashe and you swapped to an Echo. They're fine. I think the biggest problem I have right now with this is that you're kind of trying to play a hybrid now. First of all, your brawl will be less, so you have less burst damage to follow up on that Sigma. But you put more value in countering the Fire. I think that's your main reason why you played these two. But
yeah, we were gonna swap the comp completely to a ball comp ourselves. With the.
But you didn't get a chance to.
We didn't really get a chance to, yeah.
I think in this case the problem is not that the Fara is doing too much. The problem is that the Fara has too much space, right?
Yeah.
Because if you limit the space the Fara has, that will really offer more options for you to punish her. Swaps you could have made to make that easier is or maybe a on the support line you could play a brick just to limit the ball option even.
I find it usually very hard to play a brick when they have a Farah. Because
Yeah,
they just
like
keep
it's
spamming
not
me
the
out.
ideal. It's not the ideal option, but
No.
it's something like if it's to punish a ball. If you see like a ball that doing things like this, he's just
Yeah.
running up main.
Yeah.
That's something where a brick could shine.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if you get forced out quite quickly by the Farah.
Okay.
On the DPS side, you could look for to play again that Hanzo Kree or Hanzo Ash, but you want to keep either a Kree or a Hanzo so you have burst damage still.
Okay.
I say Hanzo Ash because of the high grounds, but that's the only reason. If you didn't have much high ground, so for example on second phase, I think you keep the Kree and you swap to a Hanzo as well. But on this phase you could play the Ash. Because they're really abusing the fact that you don't have high ground control. Like the Hanzo can stay there forever. He's being pocketed by a Mercy. Now you punish her. No, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're getting a lot of value out of those DPS because they're too focused on cards and too focused on killing your main core that they leave your DPS completely open. That's why you get so much value out of your Ash on the high ground because she's almost uncontested, and the Echo just flying around between those high grounds because they're so focused on killing your Ryan, killing your Diva, and your backline. Okay. Questions about that map?
No, actually not much. Well, what can we do if the Farah does get behind us, right? What do we do? Because
So
yeah.
you basically have two options then. You play to hard punish the Farah, so you get full potential, full attention from your Kree and your Diva to force her out, or you completely ignore her for as long as you can and really rush your engagement on the backline.
Right. Okay.
Right. So all attention to her, or none at all.
Okay.
But nothing in between.
All right. Makes sense.
Something else? No.
I'd say that's it for me. Yeah.
Yeah, from me, nothing, to be honest.
Okay.
I know that I was...
Same.
Oh,
Everything
hello
good?
there. Haze.
We'll just take a 5-minute break and then move up to junkertown.
Sure.
Or even over other map. Then let me know in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'll go to the toilet really quick.
Be right back.
All right. peoples.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello there, Mr. Raptor.
Is everyone here?
I am here.
I am.
Haze?
Yeah, the whole time.
Yes. Okay, good.
Okay,
You
then
never
we'll-
even left. That's the best way to not be late.
True.
Okay, junkertown. One of my favorite maps because you're quite limited in the composition that you can play because of the extremely long sidelines. Sniper's Haven because of these long sidelines. So again, ball competition, double shield competitions, these shine here. So you're on the attacking side and you're playing double sniper with a Sigma and a ball. Okay. What do you think about your composition? Something I would change? Wouldn't you change something, and why?
I always feel like having a tracer is nice in ball comp, but that's all I really want.
Yeah, maybe. Do you need it?
Not
I would
really,
actually. I mean, I would either go Tracer or swap the Brig, maybe. I don't know, because I feel like she's much less valuable if you didn't have the Tracer.
No, if they don't have the tracer, they have a tracer. I'm still there protecting our Zen, right?
I mean, but if we don't have the Tracer. I mean, it's super hard for the Zen, but I feel like with double sniper, mercy damage boost is pretty strong.
But the Widow and Hanzo both already have like one shot potential and quite a lot of damage, right? I don't know. I could go Mercy, I don't mind, but
What does the Mercy offer that the Brick doesn't?
yeah, the damage boost.
Yeah, so more play potential, more riskier angles that you can take because you got that pocket. What does the Brick offer?
Protection.
Is
for our Zen,
peeling,
yeah.
peeling for your Zen, right? Against the composition that they're playing, which you probably don't know yet, but they have a tracer. Is the Brick a more safer pick? If your Zen's cracked and you're able to still peel with Mercy, then go for it, because the Mercy offers to you more options in attacking wise, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if your Zen gets rolled by their tracer every time because your Zen's quite playing alone, then playing a brick here is probably more valuable. You still get value out of your backline. So, if you would change something, I think it's on the off-tank part, and you would play Diva again. Because now you have an option with shields, that's true. But at the same time, if you play the Mercy instead of a Brick, but play the Diva, your Zen still has peeling, like more peeling. As well as a Diva can contest high ground, which will be valuable on the next point, the points that come next. So playing a Diva here could work. The Sigma is not a bad choice because you can take more riskier angles because you have that shield. Okay, you decided to swap to a tracer as well. Right now you're putting more value into your dive, right? With you playing the Hanzo, you would play more to disrupt as ball and really force them into position that is in line of sight of your snipers. So right now you're playing more to dive, and your Widow is there to back you up or go for picks. Really, in this case, you want to play the D.Va because you're putting more value into your. Mike, can you mute you?
Oh,
again?
sorry. Yeah, sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. So in this case, you want to play the D.Va. Why? Because you put more value into your dive part right now. So what that means that the Sigma has less options or less value because you're not really anchoring a position. You're more playing for these dives and those picks with a Widow. Okay, right here, if it's a stalemate like this, you wanna put value into your Widow by as support line helping her out. For example, brick shielding, something that could help. And see Sigma shielding the angles that you want to peek. But as divers, you can also help. The big thing that you can do is really go dueling their divers. Because first of all, you can look for an advantage that you can move for. But at the end, as long as the divers are busy with you, they're not going for your Widow. And then your Widow has time and space to look for that pick. Because what's happening right now, their ball is in your backline, and their Widow is free. Right? So their Widow is looking for that pick for an advantage, while your Widow is busy dealing with the ball. Right? So you want to look more actively for these duels. That's kind of why I prefer these double snipers, because you have more options to play from. So, and you just by two snipers existing makes their Widow play in a really safer position because she has two angles to worry about at the same time. Right? So you swap now to a Sombra, which is fine, but now your Sigma really becomes useless. Well, not useless, but not the best pick. Build one kill to a brick. If you can punish the ball, you can still move on. That's a big pick. Okay, in this case you're moving towards their supports a lot of the time, but especially because they play that Widow, the Widow is a really easy target to go for because generally speaking, she is not going to be playing with their backline because she plays so far back. You could go for the backline if you see they're in a bad position, but in this case the Widow was quite open, and she's probably the biggest threat that there is on their team because of that big potential. Here as well, looking for duels. I'm contesting last second. You should be able to still win this fight. Okay. Still moving on. You want to take as much space as you can, so as backline you're moving on. This is really good. Playing your backline quite forward here, that's completely fine, but try for your ball to already be in position to follow up on the damage that there is now. Right now both balls are dueling. Fine, that means their ball is not going to be able to engage onto you. Even if you would be playing a defender instead of a Sigma, you could already push up to this room and play around that mega. You don't have to push all the way, but you have to be ready to push all the way when your ball goes in as well. So you get the full potential out of both backline and frontline. Pushed up a little too early because your frontline wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
And they exploited that fact that you're only 3 and they just moved on to you. Right now, especially you as Summer and as ball, you want to be looking to set up more. You're staying too long in the backline, too long dueling. If a ball comes for you as ball to duel as well, that's where you want to look for to play with your Sombra, so you get the advantage and actually turn that duel into a win, like a for sure win. Then you can move on from there. Okay, so you have Flux, EMP, and basically Mines and Rally. Who are you gonna EMP here? Who are your main targets?
I would say either their backline, or I could even try to EMP Tracer Ball when they go in.
Yeah, in this case, I prefer the backline because they're already stationary, and because you want to look immediately to kill their backline quickly. Then you can go set up, and if you're not getting focused when you're setting up, then it's a free fight, and then you move towards their flankers to finish those off. If you get forced out quite early from their ball and tracer, that's where you want to look for an EMP onto them to punish them first, right? But if you're not getting focused like really hard while you're setting up, that's where you still want to look for their backline, because it's more reliable to win the fight that way. Okay. If you notice as backline that you're gonna that they're fighting really early, that's where you wanna look to play even more back, and just bait them into a position that they don't want to be in, or that they don't fight you at all. Right? So ideally, if you go under here, fine, but be ready for them to follow up. What you could do is push high ground here, and just stay in the back until your ball trace or somebody do something with EMP and the dive on their backline. If the ball still goes for you and the tracer still goes to fight you there, that's where you're more able to more easily punish them, because they're in a position that they don't want to be in, and you're playing quite close together, where you as backline should have the advantage. Okay, flexes early, this is fine. I don't know who you flexed. It's gotta pick on that ball, let's pick. That's where now we can move on. Okay. Okay. Right now, you as ball and Sombra should be able to set up even further. Just be ready for them to contest. Like for example, that ball staying on the high ground here, you should check those things. Same same as it was on Brawl competition on Kingsrow map. You wanna look at these routes and keep an angle on them or keep an eye on them, just so you notice when they're gonna go for these routes, right? Especially these main high ground routes that the soldier wants to take. Always check them and be ready for them. The flank route that get used less often, that's something they can leave for now. But you should always focus on these routes that get taken quite often. EMP is fine. Not ideal, but what relays gets used. Okay. Okay. This is fine. I think you want to use EMP, especially in a situation that you know that they were gonna contest again. I don't think you want to solo EMP the ball then. You want to solo EMP to open up your route and open up a space that you want to fight, so you're not getting forced out too early. But in this case, to kill the ball fast, I don't think it's too worth it.
I did it mainly because I also wanted to disable the mines on point. I think that opened up a lot more space if we can fight on point and we forced them to contest as well.
Yeah. I think you could have waited a little long, but I see and I get it. I think you could have waited a little longer so you catch maybe 2 people. And the mines. Atreus is lucky to escape as well. Still killing, nice. Keep your pressure going. Here as well, if you note now, as of the moment, you notice that both balls are dueling. That's where you as Sombra would want to give up your positioning just to help your ball out. Because if it's only a ball there, that could be an easy kill if you just act him. Right? Because right now he's making quite a positional mistake. And he's a lot of ill charge even if you don't kill him. So always keep an eye on your ball. Taking high ground here is fine. They're going good hack. Okay, so when you're pushing high ground like this, completely fine. You really want to push high ground here because you want to get this position on the fidget spinner thingy here. So, but you have to do something with it. You alone engaging like that, that's something that a double shield comp wants to do because they have that spam. But you don't have that spam. You don't have that anchoring potential, especially not because they're playing the Hanzo right now. So you want to do something with it. What I mean by that is engaging with ball, for example, creating space by disrupting them, booping them off, pile driving, something like that, or using flux here, but like a little earlier, if you have it, or mines, or but you have to do something to get some pressure off your backline so they can move on by engaging on their backline or their spam heroes. Pick on their tracer. Good counter. Counter on their dive. Okay, there you got picked there. Well, you should be able to win this fight. Okay. But again, your Sin doesn't want to be on card here, you want to take high ground. Like you do now. It's coming back. Okay, good that you moved towards the mega room and moved your way up there, because now you're limiting line of sight again from their Hanzo. So the potential that you get picked off is less again, and you're still at your full potential to fight off their backline. This is fine. They moved into the fidget spinner, which is in more open position, and is more able to get dived from. Now I can move on from there. That's a good pulse bomb from them. Nice pulse from you. But you don't have the potential to keep this fight going, I think. Okay. Questions about that round?
Not
I
for me.
No, not for me actually. Makes
Okay.
sense.
So the biggest thing you want to focus on is like your setting up.
Mm-hmm.
Setting up for dives and be ready for those dives.
Yeah.
As well, if you're getting disted on the flanks when you're rotating, that's where you want to look to help each other out, especially on ball and summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Myself again.
Okay, now you're defending and you're playing the same comp again. Again, here I think I prefer the Diva, just because of the more peeling potential and because you're taking, not really anchoring a position.
Yeah, makes sense. So if we were to play like a Widow or Ashe or whatever, maybe Hanzo, the Sigma would be better, or would you still go the Diva?
I think if you play two snipers, the Sigma could be better, because because you're really focusing on those angles, and that's where the Sigma could really help out to take a more aggressive angle. But if you're playing only a Widow, for example, or only an Ashe, I think you want to keep the Diva on this point, especially because it's more useful on the next point.
The Diva is more useful on the next point, or?
Yeah, the Diva.
Okay.
Because of the high ground, and you should be able to drop back to the point while your divers can go set up again.
And on third point, still Diva then, or?
Yeah, I think still Diva, because same thing as on second point, you can drop from the fidget spinner and go back up.
Yeah.
But there's definitely an argument that could be made for Sigma.
Okay.
So both are fine, but I think I prefer to play the Diva here.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Okay, good punish on the ball here. think here as well you want to be more actively looking for those tracer duels rather than punishing the ball. Here as well, because you're so focused on countering that ball, you're giving them a lot of space by just them pushing the payload. At the same time as you're trying to counter the ball, you should be also looking to disrupt their engagement and look for an dive yourself. Because as long as you're not engaging, they will still keep pushing the card until like almost at the end. Here as well. In this case, if your backline is fine, always keep looking for that widow, because a widow really will fuck you up if you leave her uncontested. Right? If you keep her contested, she should be a pretty easy pick and a kill to move on to, and then go for their divers. But right now your backline's fine. But if you don't kill that widow, they're still forced to play in that little position, because otherwise they peek her. So then as diver, it's your job to contest that widow, so your backline has more space to move. Right? See, right now the widow is dead. Now you can really move on towards the next pillar, or even to card if she wants to. Right now, if that widow wasn't dead, she's not able to take that position. This is what I mean by opening position, because you kill that widow.
Yeah, makes sense.
It also just offers so much space for you as divers. You can move in the open now, while if you're just fighting a widow head on and she's half decent, she will just click your head before you even get to her. Okay, they swap to a Hanzo right now. If you alone as Tracer then Hanzo is really scary to duel, because it's a lot of burst damage and they can basically one-shot you pretty consistently. But if you're the two of you, Tracer Ball, Tracer Sombra even, and Ball Sombra, Hanzo is still a pretty easy kill to go for. As well, they're playing a Hawk now. The biggest problem to play against Hawk is like his hook, of course. So if you as backline stay quite far back, the Hawk will not be able to hook you at first place. As divers, if he plays too far up, that's something you can go from with a hack. And if he plays too far up, their backline's free, and you're not going to be able to hook it if you play far enough away. If he starts flanking and he's alone, then you can really go focus him down. As well, the moment he misses his hook, or he used his hook, that's where you want to immediately ignore him if he's with his team and focus on their backline. Use that time window that he doesn't have hook available to go for their backline. As well,
I think we didn't play far enough away as backline from the Hog. I think that's what we're going to be seeing, because we did struggle with him a little bit, but that makes sense.
As well, if you're just engaging a backline and you don't know if the Hawk is hook, let your ball engage first and go in after, or unseld after. Just because the Hawk will hook the first thing he sees, generally speaking. So if he hooks a ball, the ball just survives Captile pick and come back, while your Sombra and Tracer are still there to maybe finish off a Zen, or finish up the brick if your Zen also shoots her. Right, so Hawk is not a good hero, but you have to kind of respect him, and then he becomes really bad. You play around him.
Also thought about maybe going dropping Zen for an Ana if we play against the Hawk. But like I said, because of the end time, the sleep would pretty strong especially against the hog. But I also heard a good argument yesterday that Discord basically does the same thing. Like
Yeah.
if you want to focus on the hog.
Then again, you're putting too much respect into the hog. Because the other thing apart from Discord that the Zen offers is straight up damage. And if you play an Ana, your brick Zen don't have, or your brick Ana don't have so much damage that you would with a brick Zen. And this is why this backline brick Zen is so strong, because there's lots of peeling from the brick, and you have that glass cannon that is Zen, right? So you're gonna miss out on a lot of spam damage and just general damage to burst off tanks. But the anti-nade is pretty strong against the hawk. That's true, but it's only against the hawk. But generally speaking, they will play quite far apart. And your Ana normally doesn't have a line of sight to go from the nade to backline, right? So the Ana pick is then only for the hawk. If the hawk really is the problem, then that is a solution that I could do. But if it's just because they picked the hawk, then it's not worth it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Here again, you want to look for mines more often and more early, because you're always second, you're kind of counterplaying instead of engaging yourself. Here as well as you see, the hawk is not peeling for the backline at all. So right now, they don't have peeling for the backline apart from the brick, and maybe the Hanzo if he turns around. So going hard for the backline here could be the way to counter this composition, because they have less peeling. It's a different story if the hawk plays with the backline, of course. Here as well, the hawk's flanking. Here is supports to counter just the hawk flanking. You can stay on all the way here. They only have a Hanzo that will contest you, so you can play underneath here, or even around these covers. But the big thing is that you always see him coming from these angles.
Yeah.
Right? So if you play more further back, the hawk will be less of a problem.
Yeah, makes
or
sense.
He will literally feeding you chance.
So I was thinking, because they were only really playing the tracer now, that is dangerous, right, for us as backline, if we stay that far back. Do I stay the brick if we keep going so far back, or because will I still be useful just for that one tracer?
If the tracer is really only focusing on duels, then you could swap to maybe a Mercy or even an Ana. But the moment the tracer starts more aggressively looking for you as backline, that's where I think you can still keep the brick and then maximize the position that you take. Because the big thing you want to do against the hawk is just see him coming, right?
Yeah.
If you see him coming, then you can adjust your positioning towards it. So instead of moving, like playing from this position, right? And you start off here.
Yeah.
The moment you see, okay, that trace is not going for us, we can move to here, move to here, and move to here. You still see the hawk coming, because if the hawk stays here, he just stays around here, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's different because because snipers are so played often on this map, you play around here because you limit the line of sight.
Yeah.
But if there are no snipers, or it's only a Hanzo, you can afford to play here.
Yeah.
And then you have clear view of every angle.
Yeah.
And then you can see the hawk coming.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's how you still maximize your like you inspire uptime by playing close, but you still have a view of everyone.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
So you know the hawk's flanking now. At least I think you know.
Yeah.
If you know if you know the hawk is flanking already, as divers, this is your cue to go in and look for a Hanzo, or look for a Zen, or look for a brick out of position, right? But you staying there, you're not getting value by staying there. Also, you are not gonna instantly kill the hawk. The best thing you can do is just block the hook, right? But if you get a pick before the hawk does, then it's still even. Even if they get value out of the hawk. Okay. And aggressive is fine. Right now you didn't really engage with the plan. So they just moved up to you and picked you off one by one slowly.
Yeah.
You're still waiting too long to engage and do something. Because you're too scared of the hawk. Right? Because you win the fight if you're actually engaging. But you're just waiting too long, and that's how they get so much value or so much distance on the card.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Questions?
Not really.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I was just really bad.
The second and third point, we didn't really get an engagement in.
We didn't do anything, I'm to be
Yeah.
honest.
It wasn't bad. Like, you just probably never played against this before.
No.
At least, not like with the idea, or I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, no.
right?
Yeah.
I don't think we see the
So-
hog very often.
No, and that's why hog shines, right? If hogs get that potential to flank or go for hooks and they're not punished for it, or there's too much punished or like too much attention on them, that's where the hawk shines, right? The problem is that it's not easy to play around it because you kind of have to ignore him in some way,
Yeah.
and that's not like nature,
Yeah.
right? So it wasn't bad, not at all.
Makes sense though.
Yeah.
It's curious to see when we're gonna use the knowledge we gained from this again against the hog, but yeah, makes sense.
Just to lead hog.
Just
Just let me play hog.
No, literally,
Alright.
I think this would bring a lot more team spirit into ranked if you delete hog.
I mean, it's ranked, yeah, because only like very selfish players usually in ranked, right?
Who?
The hogs.
No,
I'm sorry, I have PTSD from
I
hog.
always do with hog players.
Alright. I don't have any questions at the moment actually, but
No,
thank you, Uobe, for
Yeah.
Yes,
no
thank
problem.
you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for joining late a little bit.
It's fine. It's fine.
I
We
recorded everything so
dishonored
you
our
can.
Germans. Our
Yeah,
German
shut the
soul.
fuck up.
Where's the German stiffness, like the on-timeness of
No, if you're real German, you're always there on time. But I'm
yeah.
not. So.
Oh.
You're gonna have to buy me a kebab for that.
No, fuck off.
Wait,
Yes,
have
you
you
do.
already paid off all the hammer kill debt?
No.
Oh, true. True.
Yeah, that's like
Thank you for reminding me.
all of that is like a meeting with like kebab and a joint.